Hello again everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to head into Tivat, Montenegro and go through the circle to land procedure runway 14 using NDB Yankee. So quite a few things already configured and done, and we're going to be using the Pyreegue 3 Alpha arrival for all runways, and in the destination we've gone into it and we've clicked arrival and we've selected NDB 00 Yankee. You can choose Zulu as well if you want to, but today we're using Yankee. And it's 00 because it's not relevant to the runways. But our route takes us in via Pyreegue, simply because ordinarily we'd be most likely using an arrival point around this area, Pyreegue, or Lasti for example, Lasti 1 Hotel. If we're coming in from the UK, which we're all likely to be on the day, if we're heading over from the UK to Tivat. So we're giving it a go using the Pyreegue 3 Alpha arrival. We're going to have to go through and add in all of the data into the aircraft soon as well, but for the time being let me show you Navigraph. So coming in from the north and heading straight towards Pyreegue for the Pyreegue 3 Alpha, we're going to head 038 degrees up to Lasti, and then we're going to break off up to Gossett, which you can see there. That's 15.1 miles from the Tivat ILS localizer. And you can see there 9,000, 6,000 feet, 4,000 feet for Gossett, and there's a hold at Lasti as well if it's particularly busy. And we've got a Tivat NDB, and we've got an ILS DME frequency there as well. So let's have a little look at the options. We've got NDB Zulu for runway 14, and we could use this if we want to. The NDB Yankee, which is what we will be using today, because we're coming in via Lasti and then straight in from Tivat TV301, which we've actually got in the flight plan itself. And then via the Tivat NDB breaking off for the circling procedure. But there's also a circle to land similar to Innsbruck using the ILS localizer, and then at 3 miles we break off at that point. But for the purpose of today we're looking at the NDB Yankee runway 14. So transition altitude of 10,000 on the charts and an MDA at the top there of 1660. Final approach course of 302, and the NDB for TAS 345. That will go into the RadNav page shortly. We've got a Tivat NDB there. We've got another Tivat TAS NDB here, 345. And we've got the LOC DME of 111.3, which we'll put into VOR 1. So looking at our descent profile then, and we know that we need to be at TAS at 2,600 feet. And that's going to help us make all the decisions we need, configuring early and so on and so forth. We're going to be tuned in on the nav display to the NDB there. We'll be looking at TAS, and when we cross that, using track FPA mode in the flybywire A320neo, we'll break off at a track of 302 degrees, and we're also going to be tracking using the VOR 1 or the VOR 2, that 111.3 frequency there as well, measuring our distance from that station. So here in this instance, when we get to 3.9 miles from that ILS localizer DME, we're going to head a track of 336 degrees and effectively fly a downwind leg at our minimums altitude. When we get to 4 DME, just because we're passing the airport flying away from it, once we get to 4 miles away from that LOC DME there, we're then going to break off from our downwind leg and we're going to fly our base and finals. And you can see at the top of the charts here, just where my cursor is, it says 1.1 with 2 lines, and that's showing that effectively we should be rolling wings level with 1.1 miles to go. So this is all going to happen really quickly for us. So we've got that one there that's telling us that there's more information relevant to that part of the charts, and on the right it says here, category D aircraft, turn limited to max 185 knots, minimum bank angle of 30 degrees. So there's a bit of a clue there. We won't be far off that in an A320. being a Category C aircraft. So let's very quickly get all of these frequencies into the aeroplane. We're level at 9,000 at the moment with the local live weather and the QNH of 1020, and we're inbound Pyreegue now, as you can see, in 10 miles. So first things first, we go to the RadNav page, and I'm going to put in 345 into the ADF 1 area. That's that TAS NDB that we're going to use to break off at. We then want 111.3. We're going to put that into VOR 2, and that's going to track TIV. In our performance page, you can see then we've got all our live weather in. Winds are 096 at 7 knots. MDA there of 1,660 put into the aircraft as well. And we've got our QNH, our temperature, and our transition altitude of 10,000 input too. So very similar to all the other tutorials that I've done on the channel, we're flying into other airports including Innsbruck. We're basically going to be following those principles again. If we were going to be using the circle to land with prescribed tracks method, which I'll do in another video, then that's pretty much the same as Innsbruck, effectively, in the way that all works. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is runway length. So the runway 14, and it's 2,500 meters long. So that can tell us there we want low auto brake. We don't need to worry about braking. It's not like Skiathos with a very short 1,500 meter runway. And read through the missed approach data as well. So, missed approach, turn left. I'll show you guys. It says here, turn left, max 185 knots onto a track of 189 degrees and proceed onto 157 degrees from RO L center, climbing to 6,000. And that is that there. So we can tune that into ADF 2 as a backup for our missed approach, which is why that's there in the charts. So let's put that in. This is our safety blanket now for a missed approach, 332, and we'll use ADF 2 for that one, and it's picking up RO there as well. So we've got TAS, RO, and we've got the VOR frequency at the top as well. That's all the 3 frequencies we need currently. For a missed approach then at 3.9 we have to break off out back over the water, and then we're intercepting effectively a heading of 157 degrees track out from that Tivat NDB station there, and we fly away from it all the way back to Lasti, and we hold at 6,000. Now there's another part of the missed approach during visual approach, which is important because that's where it's very likely to go wrong if it does. And it says initial climbing turn towards the runway, then proceed climbing to TAS NDB and as directed. So we pretty much continue to fly the procedure, but we climb with that minimum gradient that it's told us about down here. Missed approach climb gradient minimum 3.1%. And we fly over the runway and then back towards the Tivat NDB. Lots of terrain around us as well to bear in mind, and that bit there where we break off from TAS, we're going to be flying over the terrain. So plenty to think about. Here's our star that we're entering now, Pyreegue, and we're in that first leg now, so down to 6,000. I can show you guys our position currently. If it was Navgraph and it supported the moving maps for this section, but it sadly doesn't. So lights as required, and cabin crew all cool. Just make sure I've got these a little brighter for you guys so you can see a bit better. So let's start tracking the NDB and the localizer then. So we're going to use ADF1 for that TAS NDB and VOR2, and there we go. We get a bit closer, they should start to pick up. So approaching Lasti in 10 nautical miles, and our next target is going to be Gossett at 4,000 feet, and we can see that coming up on the nav display there. After Gossett, we've got TV 301, and then Tivat TAS. We want to be at 2,600 foot by that NDB there. You can see at the moment now it's just started to pick up VOR2 Tivat, 24 miles away. And I'm using the latest development version for the A320neo, so no funky custom fly-by-wire stuff or anything like that. This is the pure, as it is at the moment, master development version for the fly-by-wire mod. But of course there is a really good custom fly-by-wire branch of this. If you guys wanted to use that, you get better handling characteristics from it. And as always, if in doubt, go around. MDA of 1660. So we're going to be levelling off at that for the downwind leg as best as we can, bearing in mind it doesn't go down to 60 in tens. So let's set up for the landing. Water brake low, ground spoilers armed. We're on the green dot now, let's go flaps 1. This is all going to happen very quickly soon. And we're just approaching Lasti, so next altitude target 4,000 feet. And let's start a smooth descent down there. Really scenic part of the world. If you've not been around Tivat, then recommend it. It's a very nice place to fly in the sim. And through the cloud. Let's make use of the terrain radar just for the initial phase. Once we get to the actual visual part, we're breaking off at Tivat, then we'll turn all of this off. I'm going to go ahead and arm track FPA mode when we get towards TV 301, and then everything else is pretty much ready to go. And we could probably at this point continue our descent down to 2,600. That's coming up in about 8 miles. The airport itself is just the other side of this hill. If you guys give this a go, let me know how you get on in the comments down below as well. And be sure to check out all my other tutorials on the channel as well. Loads of them, including Innsbruck, Dubrovnik, which is a really good one. All different tricky approaches around the world in the sim. Eagle County, which is also probably one of my most difficult ones that I've done so far. The biggest issue here is the fact we're going to be flying straight over this bit of terrain, very close to it. You can see the runway here actually dead ahead. And as you can see, all the aircraft will do at the moment, and I've got the latest Navigraph nav data installed. All it will allow us to do is fly up to that TAS NDB, and then the rest is down to us. Five miles to go till TAS. Let's go flaps 2, and now we should start to really see the effect of increased drag on the aeroplane. And we need to make sure we're in the VOR mode for the nav display. So the green arrow is TAS. When we fly over that, the top of the arrow will flick to the other side, show we've come out the other side. And the VOR that we're tracking, the Tivat LOC DME, is the white double arrow. So we're taking our measurements of distance off the Tivat, off the white arrow basically. Let's go ahead and arm track FPA now. And looking at the charts, it looks like the Tivat NDB is pretty much on the coastline here, where this beach is. So we know roughly when our nose is just about to pass that, we need to be braking off and kind of flying down this dip in the valley, I guess. So following through there, descending down to our MDA, which is 1660. Closest option to that is 1700. And we're just reaching our flap 3 speed. Braking off, you can see that green needle moving on the nav display. And we want 302. So there we go. That shows that we've just passed the TAS NDB. Really important indication for us there. And we've broke off straight away to a track of 302 using track FPA. Remember as well to turn your flight director off. We need to start to work a descent down to our MDA of 1700. Bearing in mind the terrain as well. And there's the airport down below. Flaps 3. Let's turn the terrain radar off now because we know that that's not going to be an issue, and we're keeping an eye on 4.9 there. Once that gets to 3.9, we need to be braking off a track of 336 and flying up to the right hand side of this hill. Just remember, just before you get to that TAS NDB, you need to make sure your track FPA mode's on. So press that button, turn the flight directors off. (4.2), 4.1, 4, and we can start to turn now. We want a track of 336 degrees. .9. There we go, we've just touched that perfectly. There's the runway down below, and now at this point we can go gear down. The track FPA function is really important for this because, of course, if we had a crosswind, we've got a slight crosswind, of course, at the moment of a few knots. In this instance, we're going to be getting pushed towards the hill if we're in normal heading mode. So we need to make sure we're tracking and letting the aircraft take into account the wind. Flying downwind, halfway there now. When we get to 4 miles from Tivat, we need to start our turn. So let's go full flaps. That's our final bit of preparation done. We know from looking at the charts we can expect 4 DME just towards the other side here, where the next coastline is going to be just below us. And we're at 3.3 now. .5. .7. Let's get my view ready. Autopilot off. You can see 3.8 on the nav display still. 3.9. 4 turning. Nose comes down as well, of course. Continue. Make use of the ability to change your view. Move the camera about. There's the runway. And remember, we're going to be rolling wings level at 1.1 miles, so not very much room for error here. Just got 4 white at the moment, so I'm keeping that nose down at around about 5 degrees to try and catch 2 red, 2 white, and now I'm going to reset my view. There's 1 red. We're at 2.8 miles. And 2.3 miles, 2.2. Wings are level now. Little crosswind to play with. All good.
100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, drive.
Lovely. And we're down. Nice long runway, but nowhere really to turn until at the bottom, which is why I haven't really bothered with auto brake and reverse thrust. Now look at the view down below around us. That's absolutely incredible. Such a scenic part of the simulator. Let me go ahead and get the APU on ready as well. So all that's left is, that's required is a backtrack on runway 32. Let's get rid of the spoilers, and we can get rid of the flaps as well. So scenic. If you're coming in as a group on VATSIM, for example, then my recommendation would be to leave around about 4 or 5 minutes separation between each aircraft because of the backtrack involved on runway 14. The airport and everything is right down the very bottom end, near the threshold for runway 14, so we've got to give enough time for us to be able to taxi back down and get off the runway. APUs are bleed. And we'll have a little look at the new Tivat Airport by Pyreegue, which is available on Simmarket. It was downloaded, managed to secure an order for it when it was on offer, and it was free of charge for about a day, so really good. And a fantastic part of the world to fly around, so looking forward to having a little look here. Having some nice scenery in the sim when you're doing stuff like this really adds to the immersion and the enjoyment of it. And we've got the version 2 livery for Fly UK's A320 as well, which is looking really good. So here we go. We're going to taxi off on Bravo, get clear of the runway, and then we're going to park up on stand shutdown. If you guys give this a go, let me know how you get on in the comments. And similarly, if you try the LOC DME procedure, the version where you sort of fly the offset ILS, similar to Innsbruck, and you break off and do that version, then let me know how you get on there as well. That looks pretty good as well to do. And we're vacating. Be sure, if you haven't done so already, to click that subscribe button down below, join us as a frequent flyer. And if there's any airports that you want me to fly into that have got a particularly challenging approach, then please do let me know. I'm always willing to throw myself in and ramp the pressure up somewhat and see if I can do it or not. We've got loads more challenging approach videos to come soon as well, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And of course I'll bring you all the very latest for any aircraft developments for Microsoft Flight Simulator as well, including the upcoming Aerosoft CRJ, which at the time of recording is due to be announced for release date in 2 days, which is very exciting. Here we go, Microsoft Flight Simulator, as always, putting people in the way of the turn-in area. This is looking like a really nice piece of scenery. I love the fact that the bay's been modelled with a few ships and things as well. That's quite a nice little touch. So turning in then, looking for the marshaller, who hasn't got his sticks up yet. And I've got a full turn on. There we go. Brakes. Park brake on. So there we go, everybody. Circle to land, runway 14 at Tivat Airport. Scenery by Pyreegue. Be sure to check it out. It's on Simmarket, and it's actually quite a nice little piece of scenery. Give it a go. Let me know how you get on in the comments, and be sure to drop us a like and subscribe as well. Thank you all for watching. I hope to see you all very soon for a live stream in the very near future.